Welcome back, historians. Caroline here. In previous lessons, we learned all about explorers like the Vikings and Spaniards exploring the New World and discovering North America. But if those empires found the New World first, how did other empires make it over here? And why in the world did people in North America start speaking English? Today, we'll talk about some things that got other empires involved in exploring the world and settling North America. Today's objectives are to explain the reasons why European empires were looking to settle new lands, describe where Dutch, French, and English explorers settled, and to describe the economic activities that developed in Dutch and French colonies. Ready, historians? You learned in previous lessons that the Spanish were pretty successful in setting up an empire in the New World. They found lots of gold and silver. They converted many indigenous peoples to their religion, Christianity, and had the favor of the Pope. They also taught them Spanish and introduced the New World to many of their fancy goods from back in Europe. This brought a lot of wealth back to Spain, prompting other countries to get in on the action. Back in Europe, there was a lot going on. All the extra gold in Spain was making prices for lots of things go way up. When prices of products get more and more expensive, an economy experiences inflation. People have a hard time buying the things they need, and it's a sign of a bad economy. There were many people in other European empires that were out of work and looking for a fresh start. What better way than to sail around the world and settle down somewhere new? Also, there was a big argument happening in the church. Some people didn't think that certain priests were doing what was best for their followers. Some priests would sell indulgences or take money to forgive the sins of deceased relatives. Some people in the church were given fancy leadership positions because of who they were related to or how much money they could pay, offenses known as nepotism and simony. But most of all, the Catholic Church insisted that the Bible be printed in Latin, a language that nobody spoke. That meant you had to go to church and listen to the priest to learn what the Bible said. You couldn't even read it yourself. These were just a few of the 95 problems that protesters such as Martin Luther had with the Catholic Church. Across Northern Europe in the Protestant Reformation, many people broke away and began their own Protestant churches. Spain and Portugal's royal families remained Catholic, but many other empires changed their official religion away from Catholicism to Protestant faiths. Protestantism is one of the three main branches of Christianity. People in the Netherlands and England became Protestants. Different factions started a civil war in France. While all of this was going on, many leaders of Protestant empires, including England, the Netherlands, and Sweden, thought that exploring North America might be a good idea. The Dutch, or people from the Netherlands, were looking to build a mercantile empire. That means that they wanted to build a lot of boats and focus on trading networks. They wanted to sail everywhere, become friendly with the people there, learn what they had to trade, and figure out what they wanted in return. The Dutch believed that this was the way to get rich, and they also built many banks so that they could offer loans to people all over the world to grow their businesses faster. When Dutch sailors arrived in North America, they found the Hudson River. They got out on an island that is now part of New York City. They gave $24 worth of gifts to the local Manhattan tribe to settle the area. This is one of the best real estate deals in history because Manhattan Island is now worth about $1.74 trillion. They built a fort and a surrounding town called New Amsterdam in 1625, and it became a thriving center of trade, home to over 9,000 people by 1664. New Amsterdam welcomed settlers from all over Europe. People spoke a variety of languages and practiced a variety of religions, and they became rich from fur trapping and shipbuilding, as well as lots of international trade. The French sent explorers through Canada looking for a northwest passage. They believed that there was a water route between islands through bays and rivers that would connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Such a route did not exist, but the French did discover a waterway called the St. Lawrence River, which connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. From there, the French discovered the Mississippi River, which took them south all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Unfortunately, the Gulf of Mexico takes them back out into the Atlantic, not the Pacific Ocean they were seeking. They did, however, build a huge port city in New Orleans, which became one of the largest cities in the New World as a center of trade. French settlement was mostly focused in Canada, eventually forming around big centers of trade like Quebec City and Montreal. Many young men, known as coureurs de bois, crossed the sea to trap and trade for beaver pelts, which were very valuable back in Europe as a source of fur. Canada is also home to some of the best fishing grounds in the world. While many other empires butted heads with Native Americans, French settlers developed a deep bond of friendship with them, especially the Huron, many of whom Frenchmen married. This lasting partnership helped the French thrive in the New World. In England's struggle through the Protestant Reformation, King Henry VIII wanted a divorce from his wife, Catherine of Aragon. Catherine was Spanish and devoutly Catholic. The Catholic Church did not allow divorce, so Henry divorced her, started his own church, and named himself its leader. Catherine's family, the royal family of Spain, were very mad. Spain and England went to war on and off throughout the late 1500s. This conflict reached its peak when Philip II of Spain sent the Spanish Armada to attack England in 1588. Sir Francis Drake and other privateers known as sea dogs were able to outwit and destroy the Spanish Armada. After this victory, England sailed across the ocean to explore and settle the New World as well, but their story is a little more complicated than that of the Dutch and French. We will learn more about their earliest colonies along North America's east coast in our next few lessons. Today you learned that after the Spanish were successful at settling the New World, other empires in Europe followed their footsteps and set up their own colonies as well. The Dutch settled along the Hudson River in what is now New York. The French settled along the St. Lawrence River in Canada and the Mississippi River in what is now the U.S., while the English began to settle America's east coast. As we move forward in the course, think about why most countries south of the U.S. speak Spanish, while Americans and Canadians speak mostly English with some French. Why don't many people speak Dutch? Well, that's a story for another time. Until then, always be clever, historians.
Hey, hey.